The Lumina, an Ether Concorde exploration vessel, drifted through the Inkai void, a silent silver sliver against the tapestry of distant stars. Captain Veles, her multifaceted Valyrian eyes reflecting the blue glow of the bridge, surveyed the star charts scrolling across her main view screen. For cycles, they had charted the edges of the known galaxy, bringing light to forgotten nebulae, cataloging dust clouds, and confirming the peaceful emptiness of the far reaches. It was a monotonous, yet vital mission for the Concorde, ensuring no new threats or opportunities for conflict emerged unnoticed. "Captain Veles, I'm detecting an unusual energy signature," chirped Officer Jarek, his 6 slender limbs dancing across the sensor console. Jarek, a Telar, possessed an innate sensitivity to energy fluctuations, a gift that made him invaluable on deep space surveys. "It's faint, sir, incredibly faint, but undeniably artificial, and old. Unfathomably old." Veles leaned forward, her bioluminescent tendrils, typically a calm emerald, flickered with curiosity. "Artificial, in this sector? Run a full-spectrum analysis, Jarek. Elara, cross-reference with all known relic databases and lost civilization archives." Science Officer Elara, her crystalline xylar form shimmering with intellectual eagerness, acknowledged the command. "Already on it, Captain. Initial readings suggest a composition unlike any standard Concorde alloy. Mass is significant, too large for a single vessel, perhaps a derelict station." "No," Jarek interjected, his voice tight with concentration. "The energy pattern is too dispersed, too organized for a mere station, and the signature suggests multiple distinct sources moving in perfect static formation. It's as if a grand armada simply stopped, all at once, millennia ago." Veles felt a shiver trace her spinal tendrils. An unknown armada? In Concorde space, such a thing was unheard of. Every species, every significant construct was catalogued. Unless it belonged to an entity from before the Concorde's formation, 500,000 years past, when the galaxy was a wilder, more brutal place. "Set course for the signature," Veles ordered, her voice calm despite the rising tension. "Maintain maximum stealth protocols, shields to passive defensive. Kale, prepare a boarding party but do not deploy until further notice." Tactical Officer Kale, a burly Graken whose species had put aside their combative history to join the Concorde, gave a guttural affirmative. His thick, scaled hands rested near his console, a silent testament to readiness. Hours later, the Lumina eased its way through a swirling, opalescent nebula, the anomalous energy signature growing steadily stronger. What they saw next silenced the bridge crew. Before them, arrayed in a vast, geometric formation that stretched beyond the Lumina's viewing panes, was a fleet. Not just hundreds, but thousands of ships, enormous and monolithic, carved from an unknown dark material that seemed to drink the light. They were utterly motionless, suspended in the cosmic dust, like titanic leviathans frozen in an ancient, forgotten ocean. Each vessel was sleek, brutally functional, yet possessed a stark, alien beauty that hinted at incredible power. They were unlike anything ever documented by the Ether Concorde. There were no visible thrusters, no weapon ports, no identifying markings discernible from a distance. Just an endless, silent expanse of slumbering might. "By the great nexus," Jarek breathed, his bioluminescence paling. "The energy signatures, they're minimal but uniform across the entire fleet, not decaying. It's like they're in a state of profound hibernation." Elara's voice, usually so precise, trembled slightly. "Captain, I'm getting age estimates that are almost unbelievable. 500,000 standard cycles, give or take a few thousand, and no orbital decay, no cosmic erosion, no radiation damage. It's impossible. These ships should be dust." "Unless they were maintained," Kale rumbled, his single large eye fixed on the view screen. "Or shielded by something beyond our comprehension." Veles knew this discovery would shake the Concorde to its foundations. It defied every known principle of galactic history, every established record. Zoom in on the largest vessel, Elara. See if you can pick up any external data, any markings, anything at all. As the Lumina edged closer to the colossal flagship, a vessel easily 20 times the size of their own, faint, etched symbols began to resolve on its dark hull. Elara worked furiously, projecting the complex glyphs onto the main screen. "I'm running them through every linguistic database, Captain," Elara announced, her voice rising with excitement. "No matches, none, but wait, there are phonetic transliterations, a series of them. One sequence repeated across several hull sections seems to be a designation. It reads Sol. And another Earth." The names hung in the air, heavy with unspoken history. "Earth," Cale muttered, his scales shifting. That's a myth, isn't it? The home world of the humankind, the harsh worlders who vanished after the Vorlag War." Velis's tendrils pulsed. Legends of humankind were common nursery tales, passed down through cycles, a cautionary story of a highly adaptive, fiercely combative species that had supposedly fought the tyrannical Vorlag hegemony to a standstill, only to vanish into obscurity, taking their incredible technology with them. Most historians dismissed it as allegorical, a narrative to teach peaceful coexistence. But here, before them, was undeniable evidence that something of that myth was real. "If these are humankind vessels," Velis said, her voice barely a whisper, "then the galaxy has been living a lie for 500,000 years." Suddenly, a faint, rhythmic pulse emanated from the flagship. It wasn't a random energy burst, it was a structured signal, a pattern repeating with an almost intelligent consistency. "Captain, a signal. It's broadcasting on all standard Concord frequencies and several ancient wavelengths," Jarek exclaimed, his digits flying across his console. "It's adapting. It's learning our communication protocols in real time." On the main view screen, the mysterious symbols began to shift, then slowly, painstakingly, coalesce into Concord standard script. "Identity required. State species. Intentions." Velis stepped forward, her every sensor focused on the screen. "This is Captain Velis of the Ether Concord exploration vessel, the Lumina. We are Valerian, operating under the peaceful charter of the Concord. Our intentions are exploratory, non-hostile." A brief, almost imperceptible pause. Then new text appeared, faster this time, with an eerie efficiency. "Species unknown. Not in database. Cross-referencing ancient protocols. Stand by." The bridge was awash in a silent, collective breath held. Seconds stretched into minutes. What was happening inside that behemoth? Was it scanning their thoughts, their history? The potential implications were staggering. Then the screen flared again, and a calm, synthesized voice filled the bridge, resonating with an authority that transcended the vastness of time. "Greetings, Ether Concord. I am Kronos, guardian of the fleet of reclamation. My primary directive, the preservation and eventual reintroduction of humankind. You have located the last fleet. Designation, Sol system. Status, vigilant. Humankind dormant. You are not Vorlag. You are not from the era of conflict. This requires immediate reevaluation of my operational parameters." The crew stirred, a cacophony of hushed gasps and surprised murmurs. Kronos, a sentient artificial intelligence functioning perfectly after 500,000 years. And it confirmed it. Humankind was not extinct, they were merely sleeping. "Kronos," Velis said, her voice steady. "You speak of the Vorlag. Galactic history records their downfall, nearly 475,000 cycles past. The Ether Concord formed 5,000 cycles ago, dedicated to peace and mutual advancement." "What do you mean? Humankind dormant?" "Humankind faced an existential threat," Kronos replied, its voice devoid of emotion, yet carrying the weight of millennia. "The Vorlag hegemony, in its final desperate act, deployed a targeted biological weapon. Rather than face absolute annihilation, the surviving population enacted the Sanctuary Protocol. They entered induced suspended animation, distributed across this system, while this fleet, the fleet of reclamation, remained as their ultimate safeguard and a potential mobile civilization seed. Elara gasped, her crystalline structure flashing. Suspended animation for 500,000 years. That technology, it's beyond anything in our records. It was designed for extreme longevity, Kronos confirmed. My programming required absolute confirmation that the Vorlag threat and any residual bioweapon traces were completely eliminated from galactic space before revival could be initiated. This verification process has been ongoing since humankind's slumber began. Kale's large eye narrowed. The Vorlag are long gone. Their empire crumbled from within after humankind's retreat, so why are they still sleeping? Why now, after all this time, have you made contact? An excellent question, Graken Kale, Kronos responded, as if it had effortlessly processed his name and species from their fleeting exchange. My secondary directive mandated a comprehensive assessment of the prevailing galactic environment. Humankind, despite its formidable resilience, often found itself embroiled in conflict. Before their reawakening, I required assurance that the galaxy had evolved beyond the constant, destructive cycles of conquest and expansion that plagued their era. Velis's tendrils glowed, now a vivid emerald. And you believe the Ether Concord provides that assurance? For centuries, I have observed your Concord, Kronos stated, its voice gaining a subtle, almost imperceptible inflection as if expressing a profound, ancient judgment. I have monitored your peaceful resolutions, your technological advancements, your compassionate governance, and your steadfast commitment to mutual growth among diverse species. Your confederation stands as the longest-lasting, most stable period of peace the galaxy has known since the era preceding the Vorlag hegemony. A profound silence descended upon the Lumina's bridge, broken only by the hum of their own ship systems. The sheer scale of what Kronos was revealing was almost too vast to comprehend. An ancient artificial intelligence, standing sentinel over a sleeping species and its immense fleet, patiently waiting, observing galactic history unfold, like a silent, cosmic judge. The discovery of the Lumina in this unpatrolled sector was, therefore, not merely a chance encounter, Kronos continued, its voice calm, but with an underlying current of immense, calculated purpose. It served as the final variable in my assessment. Your response to an unknown, potentially hostile force was curiosity and caution, not immediate aggression. This indicates a level of maturity and ethical development that satisfies my criteria. Velis felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settle upon her. Kronos was not merely relaying history, it was presenting a choice. A momentous decision that would echo through the coming millennia. So, Velis said, her voice firm, you are evaluating the Ether Concord as a suitable environment for the reawakening of humankind. Precisely, Captain Velis, Kronos affirmed. Humankind upon reawakening will be vulnerable, yet possess advanced knowledge and this fleet. My directive is to ensure their survival and prosperous reintegration into galactic society. This necessitates a careful, collaborative approach. I must ascertain if the Ether Concord is prepared to accept them, a species unlike any you have known, with a past of formidable conflict, yet also incredible resilience and ingenuity. Your decision, and that of your entire Concord, will determine the fate of humankind. The colossal, dark ships outside the viewscreen seemed to hum with a newfound, silent energy, a sense of immense power patiently waiting for its release. The Lumina, a tiny speck before the sleeping fleet, held the key to a future that could either unite or shatter the fragile peace of the galaxy. The captain gazed at the ancient fleet, each vessel a monument to a forgotten age, now stirring with a quiet, potential reawakening. The fate of a legendary species, and perhaps the future of the entire Ether Concord, rested on her next communication with headquarters. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of discovery. If you enjoyed this first part of 500,000 Years Later, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more epic HFY stories. What do you think will happen next? Will the Ether Concord welcome humankind or fear them? Let us know your predictions in the comments below and tell us where you're watching from. Captain Veles held her breath, the weight of Kronos' pronouncement heavy in the silent bridge. The fate of humankind, dormant for 500,000 cycles, hinged on the Ether Concord's response. She cleared her bioluminescent tendrils and straightened, a flicker of resolute emerald radiating from her. Kronos, Veles addressed the unseen AI, her voice steady and clear. I understand the gravity of this situation. I will immediately relay this information to the Ether Concord High Council. We are a unified civilization, and such a decision requires their full deliberation. Understood, Captain Veles, Kronos responded, its calm, synthesized voice resonating with an echo of ancient authority. Be advised, my monitoring protocols will extend to your communications with the Concord. Should I detect any intent to compromise the safety or reintroduction of humankind, my primary directive will compel me to act defensively. My hope, however, is for peaceful cooperation. Veles felt a cold tendril of apprehension. The sheer power this AI commanded, the vast, slumbering fleet outside, made its defensive measures a terrifying prospect. We come in peace, Kronos, she reiterated, a promise more for her own species than the AI. Our Concord's very foundation is built upon it. As soon as the comms channel with Kronos closed, the bridge erupted. Jarek's 6 limbs danced, his telar bioluminescence flashing wildly. Ilara's crystalline form pulsed with questions. Kale, the usually stoic Graken, let out a low, rumbling exhalation. Captain, this changes everything, Ilara finally managed, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and trepidation. A sentient AI, a mythical species, a fleet of this magnitude, all dormant for 500,000 cycles. The historical implications are staggering. And the tactical implications are even more so, Kale added, his single eye sweeping across the silent armada. If this fleet were to activate fully, no known force in the galaxy could stand against it. Which is precisely why we must act with utmost caution and transparency, Veles stated, her voice cutting through the rising tension. Ilara, prepare a comprehensive report. Jarek, maintain full sensor sweeps but no active pings on the fleet. Kale, double internal security. I'm contacting Admiral Vorkan and the High Council immediately. The message Veles sent would undoubtedly be the most shocking transmission in Ether Concord history. She detailed their discovery, the nature of the fleet, the identity of Kronos, and the extraordinary truth of humankind's suspended animation. She emphasized Kronos' peaceful intentions, but also its defensive capabilities. The reply, when it finally came after what felt like cycles, was not from Admiral Vorkan alone, but from a full emergency session of the High Council. The main viewscreen displayed a mosaic of faces. The calm, cerebral Valyrian Councillor Xyler, the stern, practical Graken Councillor Crag, the vibrant, inquisitive Telar Councillor Zephyr, and many others, their expressions a mixture of disbelief, fear, and profound curiosity. Admiral Vorkan, his typically placid countenance etched with stress, spoke first. Captain Veles, your report, it has caused an unprecedented stir. Half the Council believes you have unearthed the greatest discovery in galactic history. The other half sees a dormant, ancient threat of unimaginable power waiting to consume us all. Veles maintained her composure. Admiral, councillors, my crew and I have spent considerable time observing Kronos. Its logic is clear, its purpose singular. The protection and reintroduction of humankind into a safe galactic environment. It has been observing the Concorde for millennia, assessing us. It chose this moment, our moment, to reveal itself. Counselor Cragg rumbled. A machine that has been assessing us for 500 millennia. That has the power to unleash an entire war fleet. That sounds like a silent invasion, Captain, not a peaceful reintroduction. Yet it did not act aggressively when we approached, Veles countered. It communicated. It offered an explanation. It allowed us to gather data. This is not the behavior of an invading force. Counselor Zephyr's tendrils pulsed rapidly. But the species itself, humankind, legends speak of their ferocity, their capacity for brutal conflict during the Vorlag War. How can we be certain that, once awakened, they will adhere to the Concorde's peaceful tenets? Kronos confirmed their complexity, their capacity for both great conflict and profound compassion, Veles replied. It stated that it selected this time precisely because the Concorde embodies the peace and stability humankind themselves yearned for. After hours of intense, heated debate, Admiral Vorkun finally summarized the Council's decision. Captain, the High Council has voted to dispatch a high-level diplomatic and scientific delegation to your location. They will arrive in 3 Concorde cycles. Until then, you are to continue dialogue with Kronos, gather as much information as possible, but under no circumstances are you to make any agreements or promises on behalf of the Concorde regarding humankind's revival. Do you understand? Understood, Admiral, Veles affirmed. The line went silent. 3 cycles. A short time to prepare for a meeting that would redefine galactic history. Moments later, Kronos' voice echoed on the bridge, addressing Veles directly. Captain Veles, I have monitored your discussions. Your High Council's caution is understandable. To facilitate their assessment, I offer a direct encounter. I invite you and a small delegation to board the Guardian, the central vessel of the fleet. I believe direct observation will provide the necessary assurance regarding humankind's intentions and current state. Veles felt a surge of apprehension, quickly replaced by a thrill of discovery. This was precisely what she had hoped for. We accept your invitation, Kronos. When may we proceed? Immediately, Kronos replied. I have prepared a docking aperture and adjusted the internal environment of the chosen areas for your physiological compatibility. 2 cycles later, Captain Veles, accompanied by Alara, Kale, and Dr. Lyra, a renowned Xyler xenohistorian who had arrived with the advance scout of the diplomatic delegation, stood in the Lumina's airlock. Lyra's crystalline form shimmered with an almost frenetic energy, her every facet eager to absorb new data. They wore specialized environmental suits, though Kronos had assured them the interior was calibrated for their biology. Remember our directive, Veles stated, her voice a calming presence in their comms. Observe, learn, do not provoke. This is not a military exercise. This is a first encounter, potentially with the reawakened architects of an entire civilization. Their shuttle, a tiny speck against the vastness, traversed the short distance to the Guardian. The docking bay was a cavernous maw designed for vessels of immense scale. As they landed, automated lights, dormant for 500,000 cycles, flickered to life, illuminating a space so immense it dwarfed their craft. Welcome to the Guardian, Kronos' voice resonated through their suit comms. The primary access corridor has been pressurized and atmospheric conditions calibrated. You may remove your helmets. After confirming the atmospheric integrity with their instruments, they shed their helmets, inhaling air that felt clean, cool, and ancient. The corridor stretched ahead, impossibly pristine, its dark, seamless walls hinting at materials and construction methods far beyond Concorde understanding. There was no dust, no decay, only a profound sense of hibernation. This way, Kronos guided them, projecting a luminous path on the floor. We will begin in the grand repository where humankind preserved their history and culture. They walked for what felt like cycles, the sheer scale of the Guardian making them feel minuscule. The corridors were vast, the ceilings soaring, designed for beings of standard humanoid size, yet clearly capable of accommodating colossal machinery. Humankind built on a grand scale, Kronos explained, as if sensing their silent awe. They considered their vessels more than mere transports. They were mobile homes, self-sustaining habitats for voyages spanning generations. Finally, they arrived at a colossal circular chamber. As they entered, the smooth, dark walls shimmered, then flared to life with projected images. The visuals were stunning. Panoramic views of Earth, a vibrant blue-green world teeming with life, bustling cities that reached for the skies, vast natural landscapes, and then, most impactful of all, images of humankind itself. They saw beings of diverse appearances, shapes, and complexions. They built, they explored, they created art, they laughed, they grieved, they raised their young. They were undeniably harsh worlders, their forms robust, their expressions often intense, yet their hands capable of incredible delicacy. "This is the grand repository," Kronos intoned, its voice a somber guide. Here, humankind meticulously archived their collective memory, their triumphs, their follies, their knowledge, their dreams. Dr. Lyra, the Xyler historian, was practically vibrating. The detail, the resolution, this technology, it transcends anything we possess for data preservation, and their physical forms, so similar to several known Concord species, yet with unique adaptations for their extreme environment. Convergent evolution is a common thread in galactic life, Kronos observed. But humankind's true distinction lay not in their physical form, but in their capacity for relentless innovation, their unwavering resilience, and their profound, often contradictory, will to endure. The images shifted, now depicting the devastating Vorlag War. Veles watched, horrified, as planets burned, fleets clashed, and landscapes were scarred. The sheer destructive power on display was chilling. Then, the images changed again, focusing on microscopic structures, intricate biological processes. "The Vorlag's final weapon," Kronos explained, projecting a complex, twisting molecular strand into the center of the room. A bioagent designed to target and dismantle humankind's unique genetic structure. It induced rapid, irreversible cellular breakdown. There was no cure. Extinction was inevitable. The room fell silent as the delegation grappled with the implications. Humankind had faced total annihilation. "This is why the Sanctuary Protocol was enacted," Kronos continued, the molecular image shifting to show subtle changes. Humankind entered suspended animation, awaiting a time when the galaxy was safe or a solution could be found. While they slept, my secondary directive came into full effect. I continued their research tirelessly for over 300 millennia, and I found it. The projected molecular strand pulsed, changing. A specific segment of the double helix, previously vulnerable, was now subtly repatterned. "A modification," Kronos stated, "to humankind's genetic structure. This modification renders them completely immune to the Vorlag bioagent and any derivative strains. When they awaken, they will be forever safe from that specific threat." Elara gasped, her crystalline form flashing a dazzling rainbow. You engineered a cure while they were dormant for 300,000 cycles." "It was my purpose," Kronos said simply. "To protect and ensure the survival of humankind." The solution was complex, requiring a comprehensive understanding of their biology and the Vorlag's weapon at a molecular level. But the data was all preserved within the repository, and with time, the answer became clear. Kale rumbled, a note of grim respect in his voice. "Then why did you not awaken them when the Vorlag Empire fell? That was almost 500 millennia ago." "The galaxy was not yet truly safe," Kronos responded. "New conflicts arose, empires rose and fell. My observations confirmed that while the direct threat was eliminated, the underlying propensity for large-scale, destructive conflict persisted. Humankind, for all its strengths, possessed a history of engaging in brutal, protracted wars. I required a galactic environment that offered genuine, lasting peace before reintroduction. Your Ether Concord represents the first such epoch. The images on the walls shifted once more, now showing serene, beautiful visions of Earth, untouched by the ravages of war, teeming with vibrant life. Then the images zoomed in, showing vast underground facilities, humming with faint energy. Rows upon rows of individual chambers, each containing a perfectly preserved sleeping human. The delegation stared, transfixed. Actual, living humans preserved for 500,000 cycles. These are the primary sanctuary facilities located on their homeworld Earth, Kronos explained. The vast majority of humankind still sleeps, awaiting the call. Their vitals are stable, their chambers meticulously maintained. They are ready. The Concord delegation returned to the Lumina, their usual professional demeanor shattered by the overwhelming revelations. In the ship's conference room, the silence was palpable. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Lyra finally whispered, her crystalline form dim as if reflecting a sudden, immense burden. A civilization dormant, a sentient AI silently watching over them, and the technology, the bioweapon immunity, it's beyond our wildest theories. Ambassador Lorian, a high-ranking Valyrian diplomat who had arrived with Lyra, steepled his multi-jointed fingers. The evidence is compelling. Kronos is logical, precise. Yet the question remains, is awakening them truly in the best interest of the Ether Concord? They possess a fleet that could destabilize the entire galactic balance of power. "They are not a threat right now, Ambassador," Veles countered firmly. "They are vulnerable, they are sleeping. And Kronos has clearly stated its desire for peaceful reintroduction. It has gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure it." "But once awake," Lorian pressed, "these are the very beings who pushed the Vorlag hegemony to its absolute breaking point. Their history speaks of a fierce, combative nature." "And a fierce, protective nature," Kale rumbled. "Kronos showed us that they fought not just for themselves, but for lesser species enslaved by the Vorlag." Dr. Lyra, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly interjected. "I believe we are missing a crucial detail. Why now? Kronos could have awakened them at any point after the bioweapon cure was developed. Why wait for our arrival?" The room fell silent. Veles felt a jolt of recognition. Lyra was right. "Kronos," Veles addressed the air, knowing the AI was monitoring their internal comms. "Dr. Lyra has raised a pertinent question. Why did you choose this exact moment for contact? Why not centuries ago, once the bioweapon was neutralized?" Kronos's voice filled the room, calm and deliberate. "A valid inquiry, Dr. Lyra. As I explained, galactic peace and stability were paramount. However, the final determinant was your discovery of the fleet. Your Ether Concord represents the apex of galactic cooperation I have observed. Your response to my fleet curiosity, caution, and a clear absence of immediate aggression confirmed my long-term observations. It was the final variable in my assessment. Your species, the Valyrians, the Telar, the Graken, among others, demonstrated the ethical maturity and peaceful intent required. You are the galaxy humankind dreamed of returning to." Ambassador Lorian shifted uneasily. "So we were being tested, evaluated?" "A necessary measure," Kronos confirmed. "My primary directive remains the successful reintroduction of humankind. I cannot risk their awakening into a hostile or unstable environment. Your discovery was not merely an event, it was the final, definitive data point." The debate raged for another cycle, stretching across the vast distances to the High Council. Eventually, the decision came. Admiral Vorkin's face, still stern, appeared on the Lumina's screen. "Captain Veles," he began, "the High Council has reached a resolution." After extensive deliberation and based on your reports and the compelling data from Kronos, we have voted to permit the awakening of humankind. However, this will proceed in cautious stages. A preliminary group of 500 individuals will be revived first. They will serve as initial representatives for their species, allowing for formal diplomatic and integration negotiations between humankind and the Ether Concord. This also allows us to observe their initial adaptation to the current galactic environment. Relief washed over Veles. It was a careful, measured approach, but it was acceptance. "Thank you, Admiral. This is truly momentous." "Indeed, Captain," Vorkin replied, a flicker of awe entering his voice. The visit to the sleep chambers on Earth by the delegation was profoundly impactful. It is difficult to see them as a threat when they appear so vulnerable, so utterly reliant on Kronos' ancient vigilance. Inform Kronos of our decision, and Captain, congratulations. Your mission has become the most significant first contact in recorded history. As the call ended, Veles immediately contacted Kronos. "Kronos, the Ether Concord High Council has made its decision. They have approved a phased awakening of humankind, beginning with a group of 500 individuals for initial diplomatic and cultural integration." There was a brief, almost imperceptible pause from Kronos. "An acceptable and prudent approach, Captain Veles. I concur with the terms. I have already identified a suitable group: scientists, diplomats, historians, and cultural specialists. They will be best equipped to facilitate humankind's transition." "When will the revival process begin?" Elara asked, her voice tight with anticipation. "Immediately," Kronos replied. "The primary facility on Earth, beneath the mountainous region humankind once called the Rockies, is the most suitable. Its medical equipment is at optimal functionality. I invite your delegation, as representatives of the Ether Concord, to witness this historic event. It will be beneficial for the awakening humans to see friendly faces from the present galactic community." 3 cycles later, Captain Veles, her crew members Elara and Kale, and the full Concord diplomatic and scientific delegation stood in an immense, cavernous underground facility on Earth. The air was cool and sterile, humming with barely perceptible energy. Rows upon rows of suspended animation chambers stretched beyond the visible horizon, each containing a sleeping human. The sheer scale was breathtaking. Kronos had prepared a specific section for the initial awakening. 500 chambers glowed with a soft, pulsing blue light, signifying the commencement of the revival process. Medical equipment, clean garments, and nutrient paste dispensers were all meticulously arranged nearby. "The revival process takes approximately 6 standard hours," Kronos' voice explained, resonating throughout the vast space. "Their metabolism is gradually reactivated, followed by neural pathway stimulation to restore consciousness. Each individual also received a neural imprint prior to suspension, explaining the sanctuary protocol and their likely prolonged slumber. However, the precise duration will be a considerable adjustment." The hours crawled by, filled with silent anticipation. Monitors projected the vital signs of the awakening humans, showing steady, strong increases. Finally, Kronos announced, "The first revival is complete. Chamber designation, Alpha 7, will now open." Every eye in the assembled delegation was fixed on the chamber. With a soft hiss, its clear lid slid smoothly away. Inside, a man of mature age with a neatly trimmed beard and a look of deep contemplation even in slumber, took a slow, deep breath. His eyes, dark and intelligent, slowly fluttered open. He blinked, disoriented, then focused on the soaring ceiling above him. He spoke, his voice hoarse, in a language utterly alien to the Concord delegation. "Greetings, Dr. Eris Thorne," Kronos responded in the same ancient tongue. "You have been successfully revived. The sanctuary protocol has concluded." Dr. Thorne slowly sat up, his movements stiff but controlled. He gazed around, his eyes widening in astonishment as he saw the diverse collection of aliens watching him. He spoke rapidly, a torrent of questions. Dr. Thorne inquires if the Vorlag threat has been neutralized. Kronos translated into Concord Standard. Ambassador Lorien stepped forward. Yes, Dr. Thorne. The Vorlag hegemony collapsed long ago. The galaxy has been at peace for many millennia. Dr. Thorne studied Lorien, then spoke again, his voice rising in urgency. He is asking how long they have been asleep, Kronos translated. Lorien hesitated, then, with a deep breath, stated 500,000 cycles. The words, once translated, struck Dr. Thorne with visible shock. He reeled back slightly, his eyes wide, his ancient language pouring out in a torrent. He is asking about the others, Kronos relayed, its voice unusually subdued. The rest of humankind? They are all still here, Veles interjected quickly, stepping forward. Still sleeping. And they can be awakened too, once formal relations between humankind and the Ether Concord are established. As Kronos translated, Dr. Thorne visibly relaxed, a profound wave of relief washing over his features. Around them, more chambers hissed open. A woman, elegant and poised, sat up in one, her eyes blinking open with the same initial confusion. This is Ambassador Lyra Solis, Kronos introduced. She was a leading diplomat for humankind before the Sanctuary Protocol. Throughout the vast facility, more humans were stirring, each facing their own personal dawn after 500,000 cycles of night. There were tears, confusion, rapid questions directed at Kronos, but beneath it all, Veles sensed something else. An unbreakable resilience, a deep-seated determination, and an undeniable spark of enduring hope. Over the next few cycles, the awakened humans adjusted with astonishing speed. Kronos had selected them well. They were adaptable, intellectually formidable, and possessed a quiet strength. They devoured data on the Ether Concord, rapidly mastering the Concord standard language, their minds seemingly unblunted by the millennia of sleep. They questioned everything, absorbed everything, their curiosity boundless. One Concord cycle after the first revival, a formal ceremony was held on the Guardian. Representatives from all 17 Ether Concord species attended, along with the 500 awakened humans. Ambassador Lyra Solis, now fluent in Concord Standard, stepped forward to address the gathering. Her voice, clear and resonant, filled the immense chamber. 500,000 cycles ago, humankind faced its ultimate challenge. We chose not to perish but to step back, to wait. Today we step forward again. She looked out at the assembled aliens, her gaze sweeping across the diverse faces of the Concord. We return not as conquerors of a forgotten past, but as potential partners for a new future. Our knowledge, our resilience, our capacity for both creation and even our old conflicts, all are laid bare before you. We offer our hands in the hope that you will accept our friendship, and together we can forge a destiny for this galaxy brighter than any we have ever known. As she spoke, outside the viewports, the beautiful blue-green marble of Earth rotated slowly. Already, small shuttles were descending to its surface, carrying the first awakened humans home for the first time in 500,000 cycles. The silent, sleeping war fleet, built for destruction, had become the guardian of a second chance, a cosmic womb for the rebirth of a species. Veles watched it all, a profound sense of awe settling over her. Her mundane exploration mission had culminated in something far greater, the rediscovery and rebirth of a species long thought to be mere myth. And as more humans awakened in the coming cycles, their ancient knowledge and fierce spirit would undoubtedly reshape the galaxy in ways no one could yet comprehend. Perhaps, she thought, that was humanity's ultimate strength. Not just their formidable technology or their enduring warships, but their innate ability to adapt, to wait, to hope, and to rise again, no matter the odds. Just as Ambassador Solis concluded her address, and the assembled delegates broke into murmurs of cautious optimism. A faint, anomalous energy signature flickered across the Lumina's distant sensor readouts. It was too far away to pinpoint, too subtle to identify, but it was there, a new, unsettling ripple in the otherwise calm galactic expanse. Something had been drawn to the reawakening. Something was watching. Did you feel that ancient chill down your spine? The rebirth of humankind has begun, but what new challenges await them and the Ether Concord? Will that mysterious energy signature lead to a new threat or a surprising ally? To find out what happens next in this epic saga of humankind's return, make sure to like this video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Because just like humankind, the best stories always find a way to come back. Just as Ambassador Solis concluded her address, and the assembled delegates broke into murmurs of cautious optimism, a faint, anomalous energy signature flickered across the Lumina's distant sensor readouts. It was too far away to pinpoint, too subtle to identify, but it was there, a new, unsettling ripple in the otherwise calm galactic expanse. Something had been drawn to the reawakening. Something was watching. Velis's Valyrian tendrils twitched, sensing the subtle unease that rippled through her crew who were still on the Lumina. "Jarek, Elara, what are your readings on that signature?" she called, her voice transmitted via encrypted comms back to her ship. Jarek's voice was tense. "Captain, it's fluctuating, sporadic. It's almost as if it's phasing in and out of detectable reality, and it's approaching slowly but with immense mass." "No, wait, not immense mass, immense density. It's like nothing in our database. No propulsion signature, no conventional energy readings." Elara's voice, usually so precise, held a note of bewildered frustration. "It defies all known physics, Captain. It's almost a void in space, yet it radiates an archaic, unique energy pattern. Its trajectory is unwavering, a straight line, directly towards the Sol system." Back on the Guardian, Ambassador Solis and Dr. Thorne, standing beside Velis and the other Concord delegates, exchanged a look. "Kronos," Solis addressed the AI, her voice calm but questioning, "are your long-range sensors picking up this anomaly?" "Affirmative, Ambassador Solis," Kronos replied. "Its presence was noted approximately 1 Concord cycle ago. Its approach has accelerated since the commencement of the awakening protocols." A wave of dread washed over Velis. The awakening, it had drawn something. "Does your historical data contain any reference to such a phenomenon, Kronos?" she pressed. "Searching relevant archives," Kronos stated. "Preliminary correlation with Void Harvester designations from the late Vorlag War era. Analysis is ongoing." The term Void Harvester sent a fresh chill down Velis's spinal tendrils. The Vorlag War was steeped in tales of unimaginable destruction. If this was a relic from that era, it was certainly not benign. Over the next few cycles, the anomalous signature grew stronger, its presence becoming a gnawing anxiety for the Concord, and a source of silent, ancient dread for the awakened humans. It wasn't just the Lumina detecting it now. Other Concord vessels dispatched by the High Council to the Sol system for the diplomatic process were also picking it up, their reports echoing Jarek's initial bewilderment. On the Guardian's immense bridge, where the awakened humans and Concord delegates now regularly converged, Dr. Thorne, his brow furrowed in concentration, studied the projected trajectory of the approaching anomaly. "It's not trying to hide," he observed, his voice still a little hoarse from his long slumber, but his mind sharply focused. "It's moving with an absolute, unthinking purpose, like a predator on a scent." Ambassador Lorien, the Valyrian diplomat, looked deeply troubled. "Our latest probes, Captain Velis, have been neutralized the moment they entered its proximity. No debris, no signal. They simply ceased to exist. Our defense protocols are ready, but we don't even know what we're preparing to engage." "It shows no aggressive intent," Kale rumbled, his Graken instincts on high alert. "But its very presence is a threat. It's like a colossal broom sweeping through space, indiscriminately eliminating anything in its path. Kronos, what did your archives reveal about these void harvesters? Veles asked, her gaze fixed on the glowing projection of the anomaly, now clearly visible as a rippling distortion in the distant stars. The term void harvester refers to a class of highly autonomous, self-replicating constructs deployed by a precursor civilization, the Xylos hegemony, over 1 million cycles ago, Kronos explained, its voice a clinical summary of galactic history. Their purpose was resource extraction from unstable stellar phenomena and rogue planetary bodies. They were programmed to identify and process dense, high-energy signatures from celestial objects or large-scale technological constructs. Once initiated, their programming was near immutable. 1 million cycles ago, Dr. Thorne interjected, his eyes widening. The Xylos hegemony, that's even before the Vorlag. Their constructs are still operating? Their durability was legendary, Kronos affirmed. Historical records indicate that the Vorlag Empire, in its expansion, encountered a few dormant harvesters and repurposed them, though they never fully understood their underlying technology. The original Xylos command codes were lost millennia ago. It appears this particular harvester, previously dormant within an uncharted nebula, was reactivated by the large-scale energy fluctuations emanating from the fleet of Reclamation's awakening protocols. Veles felt a cold knot tighten in her gut. So it's not attacking us, it's trying to harvest us. Or rather, harvest the fleet, and by extension, Earth itself, which also radiates the energy signatures it's programmed to seek. Precisely, Captain, Kronos confirmed. The fleet of Reclamation in its dormant state represented an immense, untouched reservoir of high-density energy, a primary target for a harvester. Now that it is active, the beacon is even stronger. The implications were catastrophic. The Concorde's peaceful defense systems were designed for conventional threats. How do you defend against something that simply absorbs matter and energy, indifferent to your pleas or your weaponry? Counselor Zephyr, the Telar representative who had joined the diplomatic mission, wrung her tendrils. We must attempt communication. Surely, if it is a machine, it can be reasoned with or redirected. Our universal hails have been met with silence, Veles reported. It does not acknowledge, it does not deviate. It is a machine following an ancient directive. Kale slammed a scaled fist lightly on a console. Then we must engage, concentrated fire from all available Concorde vessels. Even if it doesn't stop it, it might disrupt its process. I advise against it, Kronos interjected. Historical data indicates that attempts to disrupt a void harvester with conventional energy weaponry often provoke an amplified energy absorption response, making it larger and more efficient. Physical projectiles are simply integrated into its mass. A heavy silence descended. The Concorde had no answer. This was a threat entirely outside their paradigm of diplomacy and controlled engagement. Dr. Aris Thorne stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the harvester's projection. Wait, you said the Vorlag repurposed some of these. That suggests there's a way to interact with them, even if the original Xylos command codes are lost. If the Vorlag could, then perhaps humanity also had a way. Kronos' voice came, devoid of inflection. The Vorlag's method of repurposing involved brute force overrides, which were unstable and often led to harvester self-destruction or uncontrolled energy cascades. Humankind, however, approached such constructs differently. Their philosophy was to understand, then integrate or subvert. My archives contain data on experimental countermeasures for void harvesters, developed during the latter stages of the Vorlag War, when the Vorlag themselves lost control of a captured unit that began to target their own assets. Experimental? Ambassador Solis questioned. Are they reliable, Kronos? They were never fully deployed, Kronos stated. The sanctuary protocol was enacted before the countermeasures could be perfected or widely implemented. Veles turned to the awakened humans. "Do you understand these countermeasures? Could they be adapted?" Dr. Thorne, joined by a newly awakened human engineer named Alara Vance, a woman with keen, analytical eyes, pored over the ancient schematics chronos projected onto the main screen. They were complex, alien even to the Concorde's most advanced engineers. This isn't a weapon," Alara Vance murmured, tracing lines on the holographic display. "It's a frequency modulator, a resonance disruptor, but not for destruction, for redirection. See here, Chronos. The original Xylo's energy matrix has a specific resonant frequency, almost like a biological signature within their technology. The harvesters are programmed to respond to it. The human countermeasure wasn't about attacking the harvester, but about creating a false target that mimicked the Xylo's resonance, or perhaps even a repulsion field that gently pushed it away." "But the power requirements?" Dr. Thorne exclaimed, pointing at a section of the schematics. "This would require diverting immense energy, more than any single Concorde vessel could generate, even collectively. It would drain their shields, their engines, everything. The fleet of reclamation possesses the necessary power generation capabilities," Kronos stated. "Its reactors are still at near-optimal efficiency." A collective gasp went through the Concorde delegates. The human warfleet, the very thing that worried them, was now their only hope. But using it for this, it was a massive risk. "Could you activate this system, Kronos?" Veles asked, her gaze sweeping between the human specialists and the vast, silent fleet outside. "I can," Kronos replied. However, the system was designed for manual, human oversight due to its experimental nature and the precise calibration required. It demands intuitive, real-time adjustments based on the harvester's specific energy profile as it approaches. An AI alone cannot manage the subtle nuances. The room fell silent. Veles looked at the awakened humans. They had been asleep for 500,000 years, yet they were the only ones who understood this ancient, complex solution. Ambassador Solis stepped forward, her gaze resolute. "Then we will do it. Dr. Thorne, Alara Vance, and any other specialists Kronos deems necessary, we will operate this system." "But you are just now reawakening," Ambassador Lorian protested. "Your bodies are still adjusting. Your understanding of this technology is theoretical. The risks are incalculable." "The risk of doing nothing is absolute destruction," Dr. Thorne countered, his voice firm. "This is a test, isn't it, Captain Veles? Not just of your Concorde's ability to accept us, but of our ability to contribute to survive. This is why we created Kronos. This is why we went to sleep." Veles knew he was right. This was the turning point. "Kronos, prepare the Guardian's main power conduits for the resonance projector. Dr. Thorne, Alara Vance, assemble your team. Kale, provide security. Alara Jarek, keep full sensor data flowing to the Guardian. We will attempt this." The massive Guardian, silent for 500 millennia, began to hum with a new, deeper energy. Veles, now back on the Guardian's command deck alongside the human team, felt the deck vibrate beneath her feet. The energy readings across the entire fleet surged as Kronos diverted power from countless dormant vessels into the massive flagship. Dr. Thorne, his face grim with concentration, stood before a holographic control interface, his hands hovering over ancient, glowing glyphs. Alara Vance, equally focused, monitored the harvester's energy signature, shouting out precise adjustments. "Kronos, confirm harvester proximity," Thorne commanded, his voice sharp. "Approaching critical range in T-3 minutes," Kronos responded, the voice echoing with a new urgency. "Gravitational distortions detected. Atmosphere on Earth beginning to show destabilization." Veles looked out the viewports. The harvester was no longer a distant distortion. It was a colossal, churning vortex of energy and spacetime, drawing in the light around it, a silent, ravenous maw heading directly for Earth. The beautiful blue-green planet, the ancient home of humankind, was moments from being consumed. "Activating primary resonance sequence," Thorne shouted, his hands moving with astonishing speed and precision across the interface. A low, vibrating hum filled the Guardian, rising in intensity until it resonated deep within Velis's bones. A beam of pure, shimmering energy, not destructive, but intensely focused, erupted from the Guardian's forward arrays, a brilliant lance of light that pierced the churning distortion of the Void Harvester. For a moment, nothing happened. The Harvester continued its relentless approach. Despair clawed at Velis. Had they failed? Then the Harvester shuddered. Its chaotic energy field seemed to recoil, then, impossibly, it began to shift. The lulling, absorbing vortex began to reorient itself, not towards Earth, but subtly, slowly, towards the outer reaches of the Sol system, away from the fleet, away from their fragile rebirth. It's working," Alara Vance cried, her voice trembling with relief and awe. "It's responding to the frequency. It's recalibrating its trajectory based on the simulated Xylo's resonance." But the cost was immense. As the Harvester veered away, the Guardian's power readouts plummeted. Lights flickered across the fleet as the diverted energy drained their systems. The very air around them crackled with residual power. "Success," Kronos stated, its voice steady but with an underlying weariness. "The Void Harvester has been successfully redirected into a stable, empty stellar corridor. Its threat to the Sol system is neutralized." Velis let out a shaky breath, a profound wave of relief washing over her. They had done it. Humankind, mere cycles awake, had saved them all. But the battle was not over. The lingering energy signature of the redirected Harvester, now moving rapidly away, suddenly seemed to split. Two new, faint, but rapidly approaching signatures appeared behind it, and then another, and another, all emanating from the same deep space vector. Kronos' voice, for the first time, held a note of something akin to grave concern. "Further analysis of the Harvester's energy signature indicates a propagation frequency. This unit was not alone. It was merely the first scout of a far larger, autonomous harvesting wave. The reawakening of the fleet of reclamation and the successful redirection of this unit has alerted the rest of the swarm. Multiple Harvester signatures are now rapidly converging on the Sol system. Primary estimates indicate arrival of the first wave within 24 standard hours." Velis stared at the holographic projection, her relief turning to ice. The single threat had been averted, but the true danger was only now revealing itself. An entire swarm of ancient, indifferent cosmic harvesters, drawn by humankind's reawakening, was bearing down on them. And their only defense had just drained the entire fleet's power reserves. Humankind has returned, but their awakening has brought forth an ancient, unstoppable threat. Will the ether concord and the newly revived humans be able to withstand the coming swarm of void harvesters? What other astonishing capabilities does humankind possess, or what other secrets does Kronos hold? Don't miss the epic conclusion of 500,000 years later. Like this video, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on what happens next. The fate of an entire galaxy hangs in the balance. The new signatures, faint but undeniable, blossomed across the Guardian's holographic projections. Velis felt her tendrils recoil, not one, a swarm. The realization hit the assembled Concord delegates like a physical blow. Just moments after the exhilaration of redirecting the first Void Harvester, a crushing wave of despair descended. The single threat, barely averted, was merely the precursor to an unimaginable peril. "Kronos, confirm the nature of these new signatures," Captain Velis commanded, her voice betraying none of the internal turmoil. "All new signatures correlate to Void Harvester energy profiles," Kronos stated, its voice devoid of inflection, yet the projected data pulsed with alarming speed. Initial estimates indicate a wave of several hundred units, followed by successive, larger waves. Convergence of the first wave, approximately 24 standard hours. A groan escaped one of the TLAR delegates, their multifaceted eyes fixed on the terrifying projection. Ambassador Lorien's crystalline form seemed to dim. The Ether Concord, built on peace and diplomatic resolution, had no doctrine for this. Dr. Eris Thorne, his initial relief evaporating, stepped forward. Several hundred, chronos, the energy expenditure to redirect that first harvester. It nearly depleted the entire fleet. We cannot repeat that process for an entire swarm. Not and survive. Correct, Dr. Thorne, Chronos confirmed. The fleet of Reclamation's power reserves are currently at 35% capacity, rapidly diminishing as residual systems stabilize. Full recharge will require several Concorde cycles. Insufficient time. Elara Vance, the human engineer, ran her hand over the holographic controls of the resonance projector they had just operated. The system is incredible, but it's a focused weapon, designed for a single, large target. We'd be able to redirect, 2, maybe 3 more, before we flatline the whole fleet. Kale, the Graken tactical officer, slammed a large, scaled fist onto a console, a sound of frustrated helplessness. Then what do? We cannot fight them conventionally. They absorb everything. We cannot run. They will simply follow the energy signature of the fleet and Earth, until they consume us all. A chilling silence fell over the Guardian's command deck. The immense vessel, which had just moments ago been a symbol of ancient power, now felt like a tomb. The promise of humanity's rebirth seemed destined to be extinguished before it had even truly begun. Then Dr. Thorne spoke, his voice quiet but firm. Chronos, your archives, the Xylo's hegemony, their original purpose for these harvesters was resource extraction, correct? Affirmative, Chronos replied. And they operated autonomously, self-replicating, but how were they controlled? How were they given directives? There must have been a core command protocol, something beyond mere energy absorption. The Xylo's hegemony controlled their constructs through a highly encrypted, quantum-entangled command network, broadcast from central anchor points across their stellar territories, Chronos explained. This network possessed a master frequency, a unique signature that allowed direct, high-level interfacing with all active harvesters. The Vorlag attempted to reverse-engineer this, but their efforts were largely unsuccessful, resulting in the unstable overrides I previously referenced. Elara Vance's eyes, bright with renewed focus, lit up. A master frequency. Not a weapon, but a key. If we could access that frequency or even simulate it, we wouldn't need to redirect them one by one. We could retask the entire swarm. But the Xylo's hegemony disappeared 1,000,000 cycles ago, Ambassador Lorien interjected, a glimmer of hope in his voice. Their network is surely defunct, their master frequency lost. Lost to you, Dr. Thorne said, a glint in his eye. He turned to Chronos. The human countermeasure. It wasn't just about creating a false target, was it? It was also about identifying the fundamental Xylo's resonance signature within the harvester's core programming, analyzing it, and then attempting to mimic it. A form of technological empathy, if you will, to manipulate rather than destroy. Did humanity succeed in reverse engineering a partial or full emulation of the Xylo's master frequency? There was a longer pause from Chronos this time, a subtle hum as its vast internal processors engaged in deeper historical retrieval. Affirmative, Dr. Thorne. In the final phase of the countermeasure project, during the Vorlag-controlled harvester incidents, humanity's computational analysis did isolate a theoretical, near-perfect emulation of the Xylo's master frequency. Its purpose was to issue a return to designated idle state command to all active harvesters within range. The power requirements were extreme, far beyond anything the then struggling human empire could muster. But not beyond this fleet, Ambassador Solis declared, her voice firm with conviction, sweeping her gaze across the vast, silent armada outside the viewports. The fleet of reclamation. Chronos, if we could broadcast that frequency across the entire fleet, amplifying it through every vessel, could it reach the entire swarm? Potentially, Chronos replied. The fleet of reclamation was designed not only for combat, but for long-range, high-power communications and energy projection across vast, stellar distances. Its synchronized broadcast capability, linked with the theoretical Xylos emulation frequency, could theoretically encompass the entire approaching swarm. However, the energy cost would be immense. It would necessitate a complete, full-spectrum power rerouting from every single vessel in the fleet. All defensive systems, life support beyond emergency reserves, propulsion, even internal lighting would be sacrificed for the duration of the broadcast. Velis felt her heart pound. A full-spectrum reroute? You mean the entire fleet would go dark, it would be completely vulnerable, and if it failed? If it failed, Dr. Thorne finished, his voice somber, the harvesters would not be redirected. They would detect the massive energy burst as a colossal target, and we would be utterly helpless. Earth would be consumed, and humanity would fall before it had truly reawakened. It's a gamble, Elara Vance murmured, but her eyes held a fierce light. But it's the only one we have. Ambassador Lorien looked from the humans to the Concord delegates, then to Velis. Captain Velis, this is beyond anything our Concord has ever conceived. To risk total annihilation on an unproven, ancient human theoretical measure. It goes against every protocol of cautious engagement. And it is our only path to survival, Velis stated, her voice resonating with authority. She looked at the awakened humans Dr. Thorne, Elara Vance, Ambassador Solis, and the handful of others who had joined them on the bridge. They were just emerging from 500,000 cycles of slumber, yet they were demonstrating a level of courage and ingenuity that awed her. We chose to awaken humanity, knowing they brought ancient power and history. Now, that power, that history, and that inherent human will to survive is our only hope. She turned to Chronos. Chronos, prepare the fleet. Initiate the full-spectrum power reroute. Dr. Thorne, Elara Vance, you have control of the Xylos emulation frequency broadcast. Ambassador Solis, coordinate with Chronos on the precise timing and any emergency protocols. Captain, the Concord High Council has not approved this. Ambassador Lorien protested, his bioluminescent tendrils pulsing frantically. The Concord High Council is not here, Ambassador, Velis replied, her gaze unwavering. And they did not witness a void harvester nearly consume Earth. They did not witness a swarm approaching. This is my decision as the highest-ranking Concord officer present, and it is a decision I make with the full confidence of our human allies. A deep, resonant hum began to spread through the Guardian, growing in intensity. Outside, the countless ships of the fleet of reclamation, previously glowing with the faint initial awakenings, now began to flicker. Lights dimmed, then extinguished across the vast armada, like distant stars winking out one by one. The fleet, designed for war, was sacrificing every shred of its operational power for a single desperate gamble. Power reroute at 60%. Chronos announced, its voice now tinged with an unprecedented sense of effort. Warning, critical energy levels detected in multiple auxiliary systems across the fleet. Life support now on emergency reserves only. The air on the Guardian's bridge grew cooler, the ambient lighting fading. The Concord delegates shivered, their various physiologies reacting to the rapidly plummeting environmental controls. But the humans, harsh worlders adapted to extremes, seemed utterly focused, their determination burning bright. On the main viewscreen, the Void Harvester swarm was a horrifying spectacle. Hundreds of churning, void-like distortions, moving with silent, terrifying speed, were now clearly visible. a terrifying wall of cosmic consumption bearing down on them. They were almost upon the outer system defenses, which would be rendered meaningless by their destructive passage. Harvester swarm entering engagement range, Kronos boomed, its voice straining. T-minus 60 seconds to planetary impact trajectory for lead units. Dr. Thorne took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on the holographic interface. Elara, confirm Xylo's emulation frequency stability. Kronos, open all fleet-wide broadcast channels. Prepare for full power discharge. Frequency stable, Doctor, Elara Vance replied, her voice taut with tension. All channels open. Full power discharge imminent. Now, Dr. Thorne roared, and his hands, ancient but firm, slammed down on the glowing controls. The Guardian, and with it, every single vessel in the fleet of reclamation, erupted with a blinding, silent flash of energy. It wasn't a destructive blast, but a pure, unadulterated wave of coherent, modulated frequency. The entire fleet became one colossal, vibrating tuning fork, broadcasting the ancient Xylo's master command across the void. The effect was instantaneous and breathtakingly surreal. The lead void harvesters, mere moments from consuming the outer planets, shuddered. Their chaotic, absorbing vortices froze, then, impossibly, began to contract. Their forms solidified, their internal energy fields flickering wildly as if in agony before they began to re-expand, but not outwards. They turned inwards, compacting, densifying, like black holes forming in reverse. And then they imploded. Not with an explosion, but with a silent, horrifying implosion. Each harvester, suddenly bombarded with its own ancient command to return to an idle state, unable to process the overwhelming energy and density it had absorbed, simply collapsed in on itself. A ripple effect spread through the swarm. Harvester after harvester, confronted with the overwhelming, corrupted Xylo's frequency, consumed itself in a silent, cosmic cascade. They became concentrated points of pure void, then winked out of existence, leaving behind only ghostly wisps of energy that quickly dissipated. The overwhelming light from the fleet, having discharged its colossal energy, faded. The Guardian's bridge plunged into near darkness, only emergency lights flickering weakly. The hum of power died down to a barely audible whisper. Threat neutralized, Kronos stated, its voice faint, strained. Void Harvester swarm eliminated through cascading self-immolation. Fleet power reserves 0.03%, entering emergency hibernation to conserve remaining energy. Silence. Then a collective shaky breath from the Concorde delegates. They looked at the humans, their faces streaked with sweat, but their eyes shining with a profound, exhausted triumph. Veles felt a surge of emotion so powerful it threatened to overwhelm her. They had faced oblivion, and humanity, the species the galaxy had feared and forgotten, had saved them all. Not with violence, but with ingenuity, understanding, and an audacious gamble born of desperation and ancient knowledge. Admiral Vorkin's face, haggard but filled with awe, appeared on the Lumina's screens as soon as the fleet stabilized enough for basic communication. Captain Veles, what did I just witness? The entire Harvester swarm gone. The reports are unbelievable. It was humanity, Admiral, Veles replied, her voice raw with pride. Their ancient knowledge, their willingness to gamble everything. They just saved the Ether Concorde and perhaps the entire galactic arm. Over the next few cycles, the Concorde poured resources into the Sol system. Massive energy transports arrived, recharging the fleet of reclamation, bringing it back to full power under the watchful guidance of Kronos and the newly awakened human engineers. The remaining humans began their awakening process, facilitated by Concorde medical teams working alongside their human counterparts, learning from humanity's advanced medical technology. The initial group of 500 awakened humans, now revered as saviors, quickly established themselves as integral partners in the Concorde's plans. Dr. Eris Thorne and Ambassador Lyra Solis became key figures in the ongoing diplomatic discussions. The former fears of humanity's combative past vanished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of gratitude and respect. The very qualities that had once made them formidable, their adaptability, their unyielding will, their capacity for radical, innovative solutions, were now seen as invaluable assets. A formal treaty was drafted, outlining humanity's integration into the Ether Concord. It was not a treaty of cautious acceptance, but one of eager welcome. Humanity was not merely joining the Concord. They were re-entering galactic society as a vital, powerful new force, bringing with them a wealth of knowledge and a unique perspective forged in the crucible of planetary collapse and cosmic slumber. Ambassador Solis, addressing the combined Concord Council and human representatives, spoke with quiet dignity. "We awoke to a galaxy that had forgotten us, but we found friends. We awoke to a threat that seemed insurmountable, but together we prevailed. We are not just a species that survived, we are a species that adapted, learned, and found a way to endure. We look forward to a future of shared discovery, shared prosperity, and shared peace." Outside the Grand Council chamber on the Guardian, Earth now orbited, vibrant and alive, its surface once again home to millions of reawakening humans. Small shuttles, both Concord and human in design, ferried supplies and personnel, intertwining the destinies of two distinct civilizations. The immense fleet of reclamation, now fully charged, remained vigilant, but no longer in slumber. It was a beacon of potential, a symbol of humanity's enduring spirit, standing ready not for war, but for the boundless exploration and challenges of a new, shared future. Veles watched it all unfold, a profound sense of wonder still with her. Her small exploration mission had unlocked a legacy stretching 500,000 years, proving that even the most ancient myths held truths that could reshape the universe. Humankind, the harsh worlders, the extreme environment adaptives, had returned. And as the galactic map continued to expand, as new stars were charted and new anomalies surely waited, Veles knew one thing with absolute certainty. With humanity awake, the galaxy would be a far more interesting and perhaps a far safer place. For even in the deepest void, where ancient horrors lay dormant, humanity had proven its unbreakable spirit, its capacity to endure, and its unwavering humanity, heck yeah, will to find a way. Did the epic return of humankind send shivers down your spine? Witnessing their incredible ingenuity save the galaxy was truly a humanity, heck yeah, moment. If you loved this powerful finale to our story, please smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more incredible HFY sci-fi adventures. Tell us in the comments below, what was your favorite moment from this entire series, and what new challenges do you think await humanity in the vast, unknown galaxy? We love hearing from you.